Hi, I am Emily Warne. I am a teacher at Johnson Central High School. This is my 13th year and my 8th year with our theater program. And today's presentation is Caviar Taste on a Fish Stick Budget. It's a story of one struggling drama department's frustration and determination. So the problem really came to light in 2019 when we were preparing for Shrek the Musical. Both to our advantage and disadvantage, the kids had access to the Broadway version of the show on Netflix. So kids dream big, but creative kids dream really big, and they wanted professional looking costumes. But we have a minimal budget. So this is an example of one thing that they wanted to make. Here, this is the fairy godmother, and they knew we couldn't afford to rent them. So each petal, they went ahead, they went on, but each petal was hand cut. There was over 200 of them. Stiffened, they figured out that spray foam insulation would stiffen the fabric to a point that it would no longer move. They laid it in a form that they created to get the correct dimension to it, and then they painted every one of them by hand. So they already show that they're very resourceful, but here's the problem. We were so close, but so far away. We didn't have the equipment to finish the project. Okay, so instead of being able to sew the petals on as they needed to, they had to attach them with glue. And thankfully, the costume saw it through. It made it through to the last performance. It didn't make it any further than that. After every show, there were alterations. I don't think the fairy godmother could even sit down backstage. So without destroying her skirt. So it was a lot. Sadly, I don't have any pictures because Sprint lost all of my pictures on my phone, not bitter. And we threw it out afterwards because it was falling to pieces. So that brought my research question to light. Does providing students with the proper tools and technology encourage them to become problem solvers? We all agree that, most people would tell you that sewing units are viewed as antiquated and unnecessary. I think we all agree that teaching kids to type on a typewriter would not be a necessary skill at this point. But everyone agrees that kids still need to learn how to type. What about sewing? And the simple answer is yes, we need to teach them. Megan Brenneman, who is an FCS teacher, brought sewing back to her classroom. And in her article, she talked about the fact that sewing promotes a lifelong skill. It's a great stress reliever. It's going to save them money one day, debunks gender stereotypes. It teaches resourcefulness. It grows confidence, encourages creativity, builds patience and perseverance, and develops problem-solving skills. From teaches resourcefulness down, those are all really big components of theater. And so if teaching sewing is going to help encourage these, then it's definitely something we need to be doing. Martha Stewart, who we've all heard of, says that sewing is good for developing hand-eye coordination, learning mathematical skills, mending clothes, planning and prep, exploring creativity and accomplishments. So resources needed. Personally, I had forgotten everything that went into sewing. Not just sewing machines and thread. We needed sewing machines, fabric, thread, seam rippers, bobbins, a serger, patterns, pins, needles, pin cushions, and measuring tape. And here is my guest of honor and my sanity and my choreographer and my costumer, Sandra Arrowwood, who is now a master seamstress volunteer from the University of Kentucky. She is amazing. It seems like anything she does just turns out amazing. So she will be using or spending some of her volunteer hours with us and creating these costumes. So this is going to be the start of our grant. I've been doing ELF. We do ELF every year as a fundraiser for our spring show. And we are still on the original Buddy costume. We're still on the original Santa costume. Like, they're all holding up great, except for the North Pole elf costumes. We cannot figure them out. So we're hoping that this will really work for us here in the future. So these are aprons. The kids are going to learn some resourcefulness and some creative problem solving, because we could not find an apron that looked exactly like this, for a pattern rather. And they are going to make some alterations to it, but they are going to work on sewing these from scratch. Hopefully, because it is an apron, that it will work in all years to come, because it can be, fit just about any student, and because they will be stitched by us with Mrs. Arrowwood's help, I know they are going to last because they will stay together. Past December, we will do more sewing to, keep on with the grant. I do not know at this point what it's going to be. We were going to do Newsies, but there's been a hiccup with that. So who knows what the show is, but I can guarantee there will be sewing involved. So how do we measure our success? All right. Do we have elf costumes for next year's production? Not this December, but December 2022, when we have elf costumes. Did our costumes survive the general wear and tear of the spring costume? Unlike the fairy godmother skirt, did they make it all the way through? And will we be able to alter and repurpose these costumes in the future? Because that's a lot of saving money, is taking things and making changes to it so it works for the show you're in. Okay. Statistical data. They're going to complete a survey covering the various attributes of that sewing highlights and how they feel it affected them. Like, did it help boost their creativity and their coordination and their mathematical skills? Did it help with those things? So that will be for statistical data. But so we're going to do that through a Google form. And we want their opinion of now they have the proper equipment. So were they able to solve the problems that were presented? It will also allow for graphs, a visual representation of their opinions on how learning to sew impacted their overall learning experience and educational experience. So already, and we don't even have the sewing machines in yet, I have seen growth, I have seen teamwork, and just kids helping each other. They're already working together in anticipation of getting the machines in. It is already doing things in my classroom that I have accomplished before with the teamwork and the growth and everything, but this seems to have done it in the quickest manner yet. So I would say already, even without sewing machines and thread and all of that, we are already seeing a move forward in the dynamics of the class, which to me is a solid win. All right, that is my presentation. Hopefully along the way, you'll get to see some costumes